And then, what are the problems we are facing? Which are primarily from our experience with Odia language and that too with publication work, print publication. What has been done and or what we have done, we have gotten done with others' help to overcome some of these problems, and then what remains that we would like to ask you, that's in part of our wish list. Very briefly, when I say we were a group of people with science background working in academic or research institutions, and we decided to broaden our view as well as area of work. And one area that we wanted to touch and did touch was to make science, learning of science, enjoyable, and that should go beyond the classroom. That should go into the homes. So we devised a lot of packages, had no link with exams or classes, conducted camps, groups, sit-ins on Sundays or holidays. It went on. That slowly led to many other things like teachers' workshops, printing of handbooks, a magazine. We ran a science magazine, we called it a magazine linking education and science with society. And that was our entry point into developmental thoughts. It went on well, but slowly times caught up with us. Exams, coaching, kept teachers as well as students very busy. Improved the first Unicode font in Oriya, Utkal, which unfortunately is not going anywhere. Hopefully we'll try to revive that. Simultaneously, there was another interest of ours. While collecting the science articles, we saw how difficult it was to locate the whole magazines. And once we located it, gaining access to it and copying something out of it was really hard. So we decided instead of copying only the science articles, why don't we try to copy the whole material? And that's how the whole thing about digitization of periodicals started. And while writing the science articles for our magazine and books, we were using the dictionaries, various dictionaries, and building up our own word lists. Everybody who used to write the articles, we insisted that they provide a list of words, either they are collected from other sources, glossaries, or point themselves with a little note. And that these are the words slowly took over our life, so to say. And one of the most important dictionaries was produced in Oriya in 1930s, almost 10,000 pages, 7 volumes, and it contains meanings in 4 languages: Oriya, English extensively, and meanings in Hindi and Bengali briefly. Compiler was very interesting. He was not a linguist or anybody. He was a lawyer. His life is very picturesque. He murdered his wife and then was murdered himself by his lover. It's really very interesting, and the book is very valuable. Not only it's valuable, it became very rare because after his untimely death, most of the copies were destroyed because there were dedication, lots of things. The whole story is really a novel. And it contains maybe 130,000 words we have been using. Right from the childhood I have been seeing that set in my father's collection. Almost any literature Oriya in the 40s had a set. And when we were born and sort of in the 50s when we were going to the school, we were always told this is one of the largest set of books in India, and definitely in Oriya. So whatever it is, it's almost sensible reading. It contains more words meanings. And he also had a reason. He says that I have given Hindi and English Bengali terms so that we want to see how our words have affected the neighboring Bihar and Bengal words and how their words have affected us. And he regrets that I don't know Telugu, which is the other founding province. But I would have been very interested to see the effect of Telugu on Oriya and vice versa. And so we decided to work on it and wanted to digitize it in 2004. We looked around, shopped around and came up with a bill for 20 lakh rupees for a digitization setup, which was just unthinkable for us. We played with it. Finally, what we can say our localization, we did it with a scanner for 20,000 rupees. It took us a lot of manual processing. The scanner was a beautiful scanner, you would put it upside down, but it didn't run in the market, it was discontinued within a year. But we got that done, and within a year, in 2006 December, we released it on a CD. And because of the book itself was important, the whole idea got on. And something digital in Oriya was undreamt of at that time. Both these gave our work much more important than probably we deserve, frankly. Even today we could talk about it. But that launched us in an entirely new direction. After this was done, so what do? We went back to the periodical. Oriya periodical publishing started in printed 1849. But the copies of first one just don't exist. Second one, a few copies are there. Third one is again lost. But serious work started in 1866. It was a nationalistic movement because of other reasons. Odisha was under severe drought, and British were sympathetic, but the intermediaries never really informed them properly. Whatever it was, the periodical started and very few copies exist. So what we did, again another localization, we built a homemade setup with an ordinary Canon camera, which at that time had given us the capability of computer control. And the very fairly inexpensive software based systems which gives us total control from a laptop. And the whole thing again was original about 25,000 rupees. And what we use for processing is a very, very small open source software called Scanteller, but it's extremely powerful. And compare that to the commercial software which were offered for 2 lakh rupees for us. It's a lot of manual processing. But within 6 years, in 2008, we released 7 DVDs, 24 GB of data total, containing almost all available periodicals up to 1850. 1,30,000 pages. And all because of the 20,000 rupee setup. But that's not what I'm here to talk about, although I'm running out of time. My talk is about writing. And writing, as you know, in old days, to various forms depending on the material available. Stone writing was also earliest form in India, particularly in Odisha. We have all kinds of writings from Ashoka, Karapada and everybody on stone. But as you know, it's a specialized job. You really have to hammer it every. But things became simpler. Anyone who could draw could write. And it took our own form on boundaries. It's really not drawing, it's almost scribbling. And the earliest alphabets on the left-hand column, this is fairly, it's proto-Oriya, and slow on the right side, rounded letters are more recent forms. One thing interesting at that period of time Not only for Odia, for most languages, technology and material dictated the language development. As you notice, all our letters are rounded. There is not a single horizontal stroke, as in Hindi. And this is not only for Odia and down south. Bengal and up north, they all have horizontal strokes. The reason is very simple. We use palm reeds. And the moment you put a horizontal stroke on palm reed, it splits. So naturally, we have to round it up. Just like the English letters had angles because of the stone carving. So this is interesting, and I'll come back to it. Why it's more interesting ever. Slowly the writing evolved. But during the evolution, it was not localized anymore. Typewriters, computers were Western products, designed for one stroke, one letter, not Indian, which are basically quick-set syllables and require more than the available 8-bit codes for the full representation. Now, we couldn't change the language anymore. Earlier, we could change the script and the language according to the technology. Now the technology has been thrust upon us, our language has matured. It's not possible to change it anymore. So what we did, we started adapting the technology. And it's interesting that Indian languages are grouped among complex languages. Not the Chinese and Korean, which I thought should have been more complex. Yet, fortunately, a lot of things got done. Government effect, private commercial effect, efforts. I don't know how much community effort was there in the 8-bit era. It was still probably developing. But we got a fair amount of work done. Letterpress became obsolete. Hand composing of types was replaced by basically computer fonts. There are a large number of fonts and input engines available, but every commercial vendor protected their stuff. Nothing was interchangeable. Srinivas, Akruti and so on. They deliberately probably changed the code points a little bit, so one font doesn't match with another one. Whatever it is, we got beautiful type pages that could be printed out. Sorting was not possible. It was not good for database work. Not much data handling capability. We had very large dictionaries like the one we talked about, but not in the digital form. Interesting, the earliest Indian dictionaries were Gita. They were written for poets, where the ending letter matched, ending sounds matched. Not alphabetically the first letter. That came much later. The first one being 1811 is in Oriya. With a very large variety of fonts. We use GIST, so these are GIST fonts, mostly LibreOffice or ISM. But down below are the only 2 Oriya fonts widely available. There are a few others available in Unicode. So when we tell people to switch over to Unicode, because of other capabilities, particularly database, the first objection is first thing, another thing I have gone to, first objection is there is no variety. And this is what is going on in the other room. I hope will solve part of the problem. There is a need for decorative, eye-catching fonts. Still, more urgently, input methods are now more or less standardized, and things are going on okay. Developing converters have been a problem. We have huge amounts of 8-bit data. We can't just dump it. So what we need is to convert it to Unicode, and fortunately it's a low technology work relatively. Several are being developed, and we hope in the next coming months we can have a full set, at least for the major vendors like Srinivas, Akruti and GIST. Dictionaries are being actively produced. We ourselves have prepared a drafting package, but started recently. It hasn't been seen any development for 4 years. Besides, people are not very confident about installing another application and using it. So now we are requesting the community to help us port over our database into something like Utkal for spell checking and prepare standalone dictionaries for those who want to use it. Next comes page layout packages. Everybody knows PageMaker. On Quark Express, but in India PageMaker L4. Then beautifully with 8-bit fonts. Most of publishing, even today, is done with PageMaker and Apple. But PageMaker doesn't run even on Windows 7 and doesn't recognize Unicode at all. Fortunately, InDesign, Adobe InDesign in CS6 is fully Indie compliant. In fact, we have been producing our books fully in InDesign that has beautiful indexing capability, although for Indian languages you have to manipulate a bit, use several software. Scribus is there. In 2012, the ATPS in Kerala announced that they have prepared an Indic patch. It's available, but we have not been successful in installing it and running it well. There are some bugs still. And now the problem is it's not going to run on anything other than Ubuntu 12.04. And now we have switched over to Ubuntu 14.04. But they don't have it hasn't been tried or Manoj had some problems getting into it. So this is an intermediate problem. We would really seek help from the community if you want to convince others to switch over to Unicode. And what is called the last frontier in the OCR. We have huge amount of PDF documents, all image formats, all our old magazines, several books, hundreds of books we have already digitized. It has not been made public because of annotation and other things. But it will be. Without an OCR, we cannot really appreciate what is in there until we produce a printed form of selected things. But as things are now, it's a very, very, very distant way. In Oriya, practically there has been no development, although there have been several claims. So much so, the TDI language CD for Oriya has a folder called OCR, but it's blank, empty folder. They were so ambitious that they will put something in, they put the folder, but nothing was there. So, what do we do? We leave the problem to the community because established vendors are not interested, because the moment they develop Unicode fonts and release it, sell it to one person, it's lost. Because it's applicable just like English in anywhere. So they are not interested in releasing Unicode fonts. Even CDAC is not interested. Please don't. Sakal Bharati we had great expectations from. No, we have used Sakal Bharati. And it will be great if Sakal Bharati is really improved. Because that is beautiful that it has all fonts for 8 Indian languages. And we are suggesting that to Lohit. Make a pan-Indian Lohit rather than Lohit Odia like Lohit Hindi and all that. So that way, at least we use Hindi and Odia. Somebody may use Bengali. You don't have to go through multiple installations and all. And as for us, this is our plan.